Welcome to the Recruitment Curry podcast. Today we are unpacking the hardest part of being a real estate agent and uncovering the strategies for thriving in this competitive field. I'm thrilled to be joined by Kan Trivedi, a seasoned real estate expert with a wealth of experience. Kan, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Ketan.
Awesome. So, obviously we know each other for a long time, Kan, almost 15 plus years now. Rather than me introducing you, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey in the real estate and then what keeps you passionate about this career?
Absolutely. It'll be a pleasure sharing my experience with everyone who is, going to listen to us talking about the real estate and the ups and downs. I have been in the real estate industry, like Ketan mentioned, we've known each other since almost 15 plus years. I think the journey started back in 2001 when I used to work for one of the popular call centers, and we used to provide financial services in one of the sectors. Giving the financial services was doing mortgages and underwriting, and that's where it started. So I was always passionate about helping people, finding out like why is it important for them to own a piece of land or own a house. And I personally have gone through lots of ups and downs when it comes to that, because I don't know, Ketan, if you know about it, but the fact is that there was a time when I was actually homeless and I had nothing. And from that point onwards, I made a decision that I will never be homeless again. But the whole journey of, getting a home, what goes in it to be able to be a homeowner, and how much it takes is something that I've learned throughout all these years. And I want to share that with people that, what it takes to become a homeowner. And I want to help them. I want to educate them that it's not just, one thing. There are so many different elements attached to it when it comes to finishing a whole real estate transaction.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always inspiring to hear about what drew somebody into real estate, and obviously any other industry that they work in. And in this specific case, you've seen the toughest part of anybody's life that they can live through. So heads off to you. Obviously you are an inspiration to me, and a lot of other people who worked alongside you. So you had an inspiring journey, Kan. So let's talk about the challenges of building something from scratch, because that's what you've done over the last 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely. I mean, whether it be real estate or whether it be any business, and as you know that our background has been sales, and I've always been a people person. And one of the important things that I've always seen throughout my tenure, doing sales for like different things, that you name it under the roof. Yep. We have sold pretty much everything from credit cards to toothbrushes to newspapers to payday loans to
packages,
lead generation. So I mean, you can talk about it. Yeah. We would have sold everything under the roof. So when it comes to building a business, especially narrowing it down, when it comes to real estate, since that's the industry we're talking about, I think establishing a strong brand and reputation is very, very important. Getting that consistency to be able to generate leads and, talk to clients and make sure that having them get that trust factor with you, that you're here to help them and not just there for your commission pay. I think another thing is since real estate is also, I'm not sure how many people know, but real estate is actually 100% commission-based business. So you have to manage that cash flow when it comes to, understanding how are you going to navigate and how are you going to manage your day-to-day expenses, your day-to-day tasks, because you're also a human being. You're not just a real estate agent. So, adapting that market changes and creating efficient systems. And this is something that I have always told anyone or everyone who's asked me, what is it that one thing I would always recommend is the fact that be process oriented, not people oriented. If your processes are efficient, if your processes are in place, you will see that work for you in a longer period.
Awesome, awesome. So, there's one point you mentioned about the leads, and I'm sure a lot of our audience, especially the ones who want to start afresh in this industry, would want to know, how did you go about, gaining clients when you were literally, starting out with no database?
So there are different tools available for everyone to use, but again, it's your choice what tools you use. Again, going back to lead generation, there are so many different resources available. You can do telemarketing, you can do cold calling, you can do print media. Now you have more access to online presence, so digital ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, everything is there. So it depends on, how you want to use it and what is the quality of those things. In my experience, the best way and what has worked for me has always been a sphere of influence by connecting with people in person, because that way you're able to generate that trust factor. You can show them who you are and why are you doing this to be able to help them with providing your services.
Got it. Of course. So, when you're starting afresh, and especially now, you got multiple sources of, finding leads, but networking and developing those relationships is always probably going to be the starting point to getting you off the ground, isn't it?
Absolutely. So yeah, if you were to ask me like which would be the best source or quality source for generating leads, hands down, it's going to be in person, your local networking, and there are different ways of doing that too. You cannot just rely on one source of lead generation when it comes to business practices. You want to have multiple sources for generating those leads, and you can do that by attending community events or going into events which are or volunteering for events, so there are different ways of doing it. Of course, you can spread your word of mouth with your friends or your peer circle. So as much as you're able to network, it's going to advantage and benefit you getting more clientele.
Got it. In terms of your tenure in the real estate industry, where are you based, Ken? If you can, let our audience know.
At the moment, I'm based out of Lower Mainland, which is in British Columbia, Canada.
Got it. And then you've been working in this industry for how long now?
Well, if you have to include the experience and the number of years I have been in real estate, I would say it's been more than 12 to 13 years now.
So almost over a decade now. So, over a decade, what's the hardest part of building and growing? One is as a real estate agent, and then two is literally as a business, as an agency.
One of the challenges is to basically keep up with, again, like I mentioned, that the hardest part is to basically get your leads, being consistent with those leads, because you are, let's say, for example, I have 3 people I'm working with. That's great, but are we able to close those leads for us to be able to complete those transactions? These are very subjective. Real estate is a very subjective, in nature when it comes to doing those transactions, for the fact that someone wants to buy a house, they will start looking way in advance, 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So you have to be with them for the entire period till they actually get the keys for their property in their hand. And mind you, you are not going to be paid for that entire 9, 12 months till they get their keys in their hands. So consistency is very, very important to be able to get that quality lead, to generate that business, and again, put in that money into generating more business is very, very demanding. It's very, very challenging. But like I said, once you have that, then you shouldn't stop after doing 1 or 2 transactions, because then you are left with nothing. You need to have a stronger pipeline. So while you do your transactions, you have to make sure you're still moving forward with your marketing, generating more leads for future.
You got to keep building the funnel.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Sounds good. And this is my favorite part now, or question. What's one myth about, working in the real estate industry that you'd like to debunk?
It's a very good question. I think a lot of people will. I don't know whether they're gonna like me or hate me, but one of the common myth, Ketan, is that real estate agents make easy money. There is no easy money. In reality, the job involves significant amount of networking, long hours, and a lot goes behind the scenes when working on those deals. And when I say that, there is a lot that goes in because it's not just the real estate agent, it's not just the buyer or the seller you're helping. You are dealing with almost 7 to 8 different people for the same transaction. Yeah, I mean, it requires a lot of persistence, market knowledge, your adaptability with income tied to commission basis only, and that is unpredictable. So it is hard, it is challenging, but you know what? You got to keep moving forward.
Totally, totally. And then, I think this one myth about one, yes, you can make a lot of money, and then you can make a lot of money in, most of the industries that, if you put in the work, especially with real estate. But then it's from what you're saying, it's not as easy as people make it sound, that, it's quick wins and quick money. Because you
Absolutely
talked
not.
about the cash flow, and then
100%.
making sure that you got the bank balance to manage your day-to-day expenses until the deal is closed. And still you don't get. I assume you don't get paid on the same day. I mean, there's certain timeline, isn't it? By the time
No,
you.
absolutely. I mean, if you're helping someone buy a property or sell a property, depending on so many factors. So, for example, if there is a, investment property and there are people living, like tenants living in the property, you have to go by the law. Like now, the law says that you need to have at least 3 months to 4 months of eviction notice for the tenants to be able to find another property before the new buyer gets a possession for the property. So there's so many things that you have to keep in mind when it comes to doing these transactions. So absolutely. So I would say that any real estate agent or a newer real estate agent, whoever is getting into the business or industry, they should actually kind of do a little bit of homework and research before stepping into it to see if this is something that they want to do, and it's a long-term career. It's not something that which is going to give you like quick cash.
Absolutely. And then, it's such a, relationship driven, industry and a business that, and the experience you deliver is probably the only thing that sets you apart. It's probably the 80% of what you do on a day-to-day basis to make sure that you grow your business. So how do you create, a top-notch customer experience that, keeps, your clients coming back to you?
I think one of the important factors that I've learned through, staying in the industry for a long time is the fact that you have to be present for your clients as much as possible at all times. You have to make sure that your service and your communication, very, very important. I've seen a lot of cases where client loses that trust during the process with the real estate agent that they're working with because their communication was not clear, or there was something that was not told or disclosed to the clients. So a very important or key factor, I would say, is making sure that you are communicating with your clients throughout the entire process to make sure that you're working for them. And being present whenever they need you, because you are an expert. They don't know a lot of things about the real estate, how the process works. So they would have those questions and you'll have to answer those questions whenever, there's a question or a concern that's rising during the transaction, even after or before. So it's like an end-to-end. It's not just when you are sitting with the client trying to build that rapport on your first meeting. It is also when you're giving the keys, what to expect after that.
Got it. There are a couple of points, I want to talk about here. You mentioned one is you have to be present for your client when they need your help. So point blank, is a real estate agent the role, which is just 9 to 5, or do you work after hours? Do you have to work the weekends?
There was never 9 to 5, and it's never, I would say, it's never 9 to 5. It's 24/7, and it is 365 days.
unless you have deep pockets and then you can rest on your laurels.
Well, resting, even on vacation, to be honest with you, Keaton, even when I go on vacations, my phone is constantly on because you are constantly working with clients, not only the ones that you're helping during the transaction, but also the ones who have considered you to use your services. Even those guys, they have questions about so many different things. So you have to be always available to make sure that you're answering those questions, because not answering those questions is also going to make them feel or think that you're not available.
True. And then, there was one more element you mentioned about talking about things which the clients would find that, okay, fine, these are new things to me, but from your perspective, it's day to day. And then I talk about this on every podcast because, it's a very common factor, across, personal and professional lives, that what's obvious to you is always novel to somebody else, because it's your day job of buying and selling homes, real estate. But people don't buy homes every day. You buy it once probably in the lifetime, or if you're lucky, you'll probably buy it more than a couple of times. I'm talking about normal people, other than investors. But and from the trust element perspective, how far do you go, in terms of sharing information, about the respective transaction?
I touch with it's a good question, Ketan, and like you mentioned, for us it is very easy to understand, and because we do this day in and day out. But people who are actually, let's say for example, first time home buyer, or people who are selling their house for the first time because they're downsizing or they're upsizing, there are so many things that they are unaware, and that's where we come into pictures to educate them, to provide them with that full information. And to go back to your question, that how far do I go, I do not have a limit, because you cannot limit that questions. Someone doesn't know a particular or a specific information about a particular process, you cannot just limit the questions. So you have to answer all the questions. It is your duty to disclose each and every information about the transaction and about the process, and that's what you're here for. So starting from what to expect, and this is what I normally do, is I sit with the client. I have an entire guide that I take with me, like a buyer's guide if I'm helping a buyer, that what to expect from a starting point. The first thing normally I suggest is, at what stage are you in terms of buying a property? Let's say someone says 3 months, fair enough. But the first key element is to understand and identify the fact that what is their budget and what are they qualified for? Have they spoken to a mortgage professional about what their numbers look like? So things like those. So starting with that, what are they looking for in terms of the budget? What are they qualified for? How far in the process are they? What is their stage? Like, are they looking to buy next 3, 6, 9, 12 months? What kind of property are they looking at? Are they looking at condos? Are they looking at single family? Are they looking at townhouses? So, understanding their needs, understanding their requirements. Are they, do they have kids, for example? If they have kids, then I'm sure they are looking for a school catchment that they prefer or they want their kid to be in. So, smaller details like those are also very important when you're actually going through the process to understand what their client requirements and needs are. So that way you can curate them as you walk through, narrowing down while they shortlist those properties, and then end up with selecting one property that they like the most.
Totally. So you want to make sure that, one is you have as much information as possible about your client, and then if that's crucial. And then two is then finding a relevant match, rather than just curating irrelevant information, and then trying to sort of not get anywhere, wasting your time and the client's time as well.
Of course, you have to do that need analysis, and you also have to make sure that you're not overloading them with a lot of information, and try to keep it very simple. Use layman language, like a lot of times I've seen, real estate agents using jargons or using certain technical words which clients are not aware about. So try to keep it very simple. Try to keep it easy for them to understand that this is what it means and this is how it's going to work.
Got it. Got it. Now, the industry, obviously has changed so much in the past decade, which has also brought new challenges and opportunities. So, what's one challenge, real estate agents sort of face today that didn't exist about 5 to 10, years ago?
So, I mean, as we all know, and you're using while we talk, is the technology. So, one of the major challenges today, Keaton, is the overwhelming reliance on the digital tools and the online presence. While 5 to 10 years ago, agents primarily focused on in-person networking, traditional marketing. Now they have to actually navigate like through the social media strategic platforms like online reviews or digital marketing, stay competitive in that growing market. So this requires like a altogether a new level of skill set and constant adaptation with changing tech trends.
Totally, and it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It makes your life easier, and obviously has its own sets of challenges as well. Navigating through a lot of noise, and then making sure that you stand out and you put in the work. In fact, we were just talking, isn't it, just before the podcast, the
Absolutely.
amount of time it takes to sort of create content, put it online, make sure that it's in line with who you are, who your clients are, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, no, like I said, that it has its pros and it has its cons, but it is altogether a new skill set that you require to be able to, add up those different changes in constantly evolving industry.
Got it. So what's one trend or innovation you think will shape the future of real estate, as of today, as per from your perspective?
I believe from the way things have changed and the way we are right now, one of the key trends shaping the future of real estate is the rise of AI driven property technology. You name it, like you have virtual tours and AI powered home valuations to predictive analytics for market trends, technology, and streaming those how properties are bought, sold, and managed. So it's making transactions faster, more transparent, and more data driven, giving both agents and clients like deeper insights on more efficiency and decision making.
Right, right. So now, obviously with so much happening, how do you ensure, you're scaling your business without losing that personal touch? Because, on one end, there's technology, and, you want to make sure that there's a right fine balance between tech and personal touch. And then that in itself is also one of the biggest challenges as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, there are a few ways to do it. And like I mentioned, now that people are kind of getting more savvy with technology, but there's so much to learn because it's always changing and, evolving, and new things are always presented to you. So, I mean, you can always take a little, in-depth understanding about, let's say, for example, if someone was using a CRM, so try and understand how that CRM works, and you can always automate those administrative tasks and use the CRM tools to track your clients, delegate those non-client facing work to team members if you are working in a team. If you're by yourself, then you'll have to adjust your calendar and give those time blocks where you're actually going to meet people in person versus the time that you're going to be at home. So you'll have to kind of delegate those responsibilities to yourself. So these kind of adjustments will free up your time for more meaningful interactions, and it'll also maintain that personalized experience with your clients. So prioritizing your work as to what hours are you actually going to go meet people in person, and what hours you're going to sit back and you can do these tasks that are non-client facing tasks.
Totally, and then this is a very interesting point, because especially from if you're a solo entrepreneur, or if you have a small team, one of the mistakes a lot of people make is trying to do everything by themselves, and then having somebody to support you only fuels your growth. I know it's difficult to let go of control because you're used to doing everything by yourself, and obviously it's human psychology that we have this feeling that nobody else can do it as good as I do, as good as myself. But if you really want to grow and thrive, you want to look at what tasks one is automate, definitely. Two is, what are the tasks which are administrative, time consuming, and the ones that can be delegated. You want to start with that process, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I mentioned, like if you have your CRM in place and the CRM has the capacity and ability to, take on those tasks which can be handled by it, like, creating tasks for follow-up or automated texts, or even I think now we are at a point with when we spoke about the AI that they have been working on creating that AI pilot project for, bots to call like a cold call and generate leads. So there are so many different things happening. And I believe a lot of companies are going to start using those things, not only from a perspective where they want to delegate, but from also a cost point of view.
There are a number of tasks, a lot of, real estate agents and agencies, have started sort of delegating starting from basic tasks. You're talking about just having somebody to enter data entry and scheduling, like you mentioned, email and call management, working on the listings, digital marketing. So you really have to sort of see in terms of where are you spending most of your time, and then take things from there. So that's an interesting perspective, Kan. Thanks for sharing that.
One of the other things also, continuing with that, one of the other thing also, now there are things that the CRM can do and CRM cannot do. But the other thing people also may want to look into is the fact of outsourcing or hiring, subsourcing, where, these administrative duties can be kind of outsourced to. There are agencies, there are companies, there are individuals who actually can do it on behalf of you, while you can actually focus on that primary tasks that you have.
Absolutely. So, obviously you can always either delegate, to somebody on shore, or, you can hire a virtual assistant wherever you want to make sure that, it's light on your pocket in terms of the budget, but also make sure, complements your growth and your business, because it has to achieve your objective to make sure that you got the right VA to support your growth.
Absolutely.
Now, this brings us to, obviously the realities of the industries or career in real estate. Now, it's often seen as a highly glamorous, industry sector, but it's also one of the toughest careers out there. So what makes real estate such a tough career?
I don't know who told you that it is easy. It's always been tough. But coming back to your question, the fact that it is tough is because the unpredictability and the high pressure nature of this industry and the job requirement and your involvement in it has to be in depth with regards to your knowledge, your consistency, your interaction. So pretty much it's a combination of a lot of different things. Why is it tough? Is because we spoke about this earlier conversation as well, that this is 100% income, which is commission based, meaning there are no guarantees, and often there are long gaps between those two deals or transactions you're working on. And the hours are demanding. Like I said, it's not 24/7, it's 365 days a year. You're constantly working. You may not be involved with the transaction, but you are actually involved in a interaction with your clients or your prospective clients that they're willing to, either buy or sell or invest. So you're always on the go, no matter where you are. So you don't have those holiday hours much. You do want to take a vacation, but on vacations as well, you are working because you're tempted for that paycheck that you're looking for.
Of course. And then this brings us to another interesting point now, because, and this is my perspective, because real estate again is a low barrier to entry, and obviously I know you need a license, but you don't need a specific degree. Just like to get into recruitment, you don't need a degree. Similarly in real estate, and that's why I think it attracts a lot of people to come and work in the sector, unless they have somebody who can enlighten them that, look, these are the top 5 factors you have to consider before you start developing your career in this industry?
Absolutely. No, I mean, building client base takes time and the competition is fierce. Like the place that I'm at right now, we have like 5,000 plus real estate agents across the lower mainland and Fraser Valley here in British Columbia. So it's tough. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, it doesn't require that, degree, but the fact is that it's a good amount of work even before you actually sit down for your test or your exam for the real estate licensing, because the process itself, you have to go through so much of information. You have to study the law a little bit, understand different types of properties, what goes in, what goes out, with regards to the transaction itself. So there's so many different elements, and you're not going to make your first deal or transaction the day you finish your exam. There are a set of courses that one needs to complete. There are different components that they need to complete before they actually start trading into real estate. So no, we as real estate agents, we do have to go through a lot of education as well to make sure that we are able to provide a quality service to our clients.
I think that's another whole podcast in itself, talking about what you really need to do before you actually start going out and talking about properties in the market, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Got it. So for those stepping into this field, what advice would you give them to navigate the challenges and build a sustainable career?
Through my experience, Ketan, whether it be real estate or whether it be any other industry, when you're trying to grow your business, one of the key factors is to build a strong network. Especially coming back to your question, being in an industry which is real estate, which requires so many different challenges at so many different levels. You have to be a people person, and you have to build a super strong network to focus on those relationships. It's not just a transaction. Someone is buying one of the biggest assets of in their lifetime. Owning a house, owning a piece of property is a dream for most of us. So it's very sensitive. It's very emotional as well. So, success in real estate is often, about trust, your referrals, because you do want to do a good job. So you get more business or recurring business from the same clients. So don't rush on quick sales to, get your commission. I think it's more about that nurture, being there for client, holding their hand and walking an extra mile to make sure that they understand and that you are going to be with them till they get the keys for the property or while they're selling their property, to make sure that the transaction is smooth for them and it's been stress-free.
Absolutely. Focus on building long-term relationships rather than, being a one deal wonder sort of person. And then, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that, you're networking, you're nurturing relationships, and you're growing from there on.
Yes, absolutely. So I would definitely say that long-term, relationships will take you a long way when it comes to, staying consistent with them. Even like I mentioned earlier, like it's not just the day one you sit with them and you help them and you walk them through. It's after the transaction, post-sales service is also important because you want to continue with that relationship, and that relationship will actually take you a long way.
Because you want them to keep coming back to you in the future as well, whenever there's a need, or recommend you to their contacts.
Absolutely. That's how you're going to build your clientele, that providing that good service to just one person, and that one person may have 10 another avenues open for you where they will refer you and refer your services if you've done a good job. So you want to make sure that you're staying consistent with them throughout the entire process, but also after the process has been, completed.
Totally. So just giving that reassurance to your client that I'm going to be doing the entire heavy lifting and I'm there for you.
100%. You have to be.
So Ken, this has been such an insightful conversation, from gaining clients without the database to leveraging referrals and obviously delivering exceptional client experiences. You shared so many valuable insights, especially your story as well, in terms of how you obviously sort of inspired a lot of other people from being homeless to making sure that people understand the value of owning a home, and then helping others make their dreams come true. So thanks so much for your insights. Just a final takeaway, before we wrap up. is there one final thought or piece of advice that you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I would say that if you're stepping into real estate as an agent, it is a grind, but just be consistent. Don't give up. There will be, areas where you'll feel or times you'll feel that it's not working, but just be consistent and, keep grinding because that's what it requires. But make sure that you're on top of your, client list and you'll be fine. It's just a matter of time, but be consistent with what you're doing.
Totally. So one is be consistent. Two is, obviously your mindset, because if you're working on anything which is commission based, you want to make sure that, you have a positive mental attitude towards life, because, you're going to come across those situations where you sit down, one evening and feel, what is really happening? Where is this going?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, don't let the challenges put you down. You have to stay focused. If you feel that you need a break, take a break. If you feel you're able to push it through, but don't stop because it is a great industry to be in. It's just a matter of time, and our expectations versus reality is slightly different when it comes to, running your own business, and especially like an industry which is real estate, which is very, very subjective and people driven because you will not have like 10, 15 people buying houses at the same time. So it takes time. And the transaction itself takes time because it is very subjective when someone is in the property versus if the property is vacant. It changes the scenario.
Absolutely. So be agile and then adaptable to the situations. And then, obviously you're still facing your clients every day. So making sure that, you've got the right temperament to deal with them.
Absolutely, yeah. Don't show you're frustrated or you lose it on them because those are your clients. So,
Kan, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might find it helpful. So until next time, stay inspired, keep thriving, and carry on. Cheers.
Thank you, Ketan.
Thanks, Kan.